welcome to Ridiculous. I hope you're doing well wherever you're in the world. I hope you're living your best life.
I can't believe I'm writing this, and I apologize in advance for the long post, but there's a lot to tell. I've been married for 10 and a half years, 2 kids, 9 and 6. I'm 40 and my wife is 42. We are both lawyers and she took 8 years away from her career to be at home with the kids. She's back working now. I have a very demanding law practice that requires me to travel over 200,000 miles a year. I'm gone a lot, typically at least 3 days out of the week and at least 4 or 5 trips per year where I'm gone for a week or 10 days. My wife understood my ambitions when we met. We both worked at the same law firm. So what it took to succeed there is of absolutely no surprise to her. Although, as the years have gone by, my job has gotten more and more demanding. I love my wife dearly, and she says she loves me, and I actually think she means it. But we have had a bunch of unhappy years. We've never had a fantastic sex life. My wife is very attractive and athletic, and I have a tremendous desire for her. But every time I try to approach her, she just turns me away. To compensate, I look at fantasy videos and take care of myself on a regular basis. Over time, this developed into a very bad pattern for us. And to add that to the general tiredness and craziness of life with young kids as well as my travel schedule, we just don't have sex all that often. In 10 years of marriage, I can probably count how many times we've had sex, and it's been probably less than 100 times. I don't think that's an exaggeration. My wife has always been bothered by my use of fantasy videos. Although she does not see it, we're talking about stuff I look at when I'm on the road. We've never been that good at talking about what we need from each other, but I've always expressed a desire for her and continue to make overtures, but with limited success. I know it's gotten to her because for years she said things like,
"I don't have big breasts like those women you look at."
And I assure her that none of that has anything to do with my attraction to her. And it doesn't. She's hot. But I really don't think she has ever understood men and their need for a pretty regular release of tension. She takes it personally, like a statement that I don't desire her. About 4.5 years ago, I did something really stupid. I exchanged emails with a woman on Craigslist. I never met her. I never did anything with her or anyone else, but I felt so alone at that time and sexually deprived, I just caved into curiosity and had a few exchanges of emails one night, about some kinky stuff. Long story short, my wife found those emails and that became a massive issue in our marriage. She started going to therapy on a weekly basis around that time and have continued therapy ever since. I've been so apologetic to her. I begged for forgiveness, but she has never really gotten past it. Every chance she gets, she brings it up. I have never physically cheated on her. I travel all over the world. I stay in great hotels. I've had plenty of opportunities to cheat on her, and I've never done that. I'm a pretty decent looking guy, and I'm very successful, and women approach me all the time, but I turn them away. I'm sure if I had interest in cheating, it would be very easy to do so, but I don't, and I never have. But my wife became convinced that I was a disloyal guy after she saw a couple of those kinky emails. They weren't even like serious stuff. We went back and forth about this in therapy, and we never seemed to get anywhere. We even have our own therapist, and every other week we meet jointly with both therapists. Talk about expensive. For the last couple of years, my wife and I became very demoralized. We love being with each other, but so much noise has built up around our personal issues in the bedroom that we virtually stopped having sex altogether. My therapist was confounded by this. He expressed to me on several occasions that he found my wife's continual return to the Craigslist exchange and the use of fantasy to be strange. He said it's just unusual for someone to hang on to issues like that for as long as she has. But my wife and I kept showing up to therapy, paying those bills, and trying to work on it. We both became frustrated, but I really believed we could work through this. Well, in October 2010, a guy moved in across the street from us. I know you all see where this is headed, but cut me a little slack here and bear with me. The guy. Greg, had recently been divorced. His wife had cheated on him and had 2 kids of a similar age as ours. He was out of work, so he was home all the time, but only had his kids half the time. He was our age and was a decent guy. I liked talking to him, and my wife did too. He quickly became a friend of ours. Our kids played together. We would have dinners together, cocktails, barbecues, on the back deck, so. I went to his reading group and started to get to know all of his friends. I mean, he was a very social guy. He was a really good friend. Of course, I was aware that he and my wife talked when I was out of town. I knew they had a good friendship, but never in a million years would it have occurred to me that they would have had an affair. I feel like a complete fool now, but I know you've all heard that story before. Fast forward 3 weeks ago. We're still in therapy, still trying to work things out, still spinning our wheels and making no progress. Sex has died away to almost nothing. It shriveled up like a raisin. My wife comes to me in our home office and sits down and says that even after all these years since the Craigslist exchange, she still does not trust me. She then says that she knows we are never going to make any progress unless we're completely open and honest with each other. She said she figures that our marriage isn't going to survive if we don't do something radical. So she says she's decided she has to come clean to me in the hopes that I will do the same with her. She then says the words that have echoed through my head ever since. You need to know that 2 summers ago, I slept with someone. I felt an actual physical shock go through my body. Like I was shaking so bad. I asked who and she said, Greg. I asked when and she said, the summer of 2011. I pressed for more details and she said, spring and summer 2011. To make a long story short, to make a painful story short, she eventually revealed to me that she started sleeping with him in February 2011 and it lasted until sometime that fall. She said she broke it off with him because she felt terrible and knew we were never going to fix our marriage if she continued down that path. She swore that was the end of it, and they had just been friends since. Over the past few weeks, I've been trying to get as much information out of her as possible. I asked her some hard questions and she has continued to answer them and reveal more details. She said that she felt terrible about it and knew it was wrong the entire time, but it started to feel like a drug addiction. She said Greg paid constant attention to her and was always available to listen to her whenever she wanted to talk. And she could talk about whatever she wanted to talk about with him and felt very comfortable. She said she hadn't realized how lonely she was with me being gone all the time and that the affair developed into this weird escape for her. And that it was so easy because the guy was home all the time. Because he lived right across the street, which made him easy access. And I was often out of town. She also admitted to me that after she broke it off with him in the fall of 2011, there had been 2 relapses. She slept with him once in December 2012 when I was on a really long 3-week travel nightmare. She said they did it day and night. And then she said they did it again in late March of this year. She swears they didn't have sex all the time, probably once a week on average. She said they did it at his house and our house. I figure they probably had sex at least 30 times, which is probably a third of the number of times I've had sex with her during our entire marriage. But it could well have been more than that. To say I am completely devastated is a vast understatement. I can't concentrate. I can't think of anything but this. I picture them having sex constantly. It's driving me insane, and to her apparent shock, I had nothing to confess to her back. She has been extremely contrite. She has acknowledged that it was completely wrong and inexcusable. She's been very comforting, and weirdly, we've been having what, for us, is a lot of sex. I told her she needed to cut off all contact with Greg, which I know is hard for her to do since he lives right across the street. She agreed to do it. I drafted a letter for her to send to him. She edited the letter to put it in her voice and made additional changes that I suggested and sent it to him in a long text message. He wrote back and was actually very apologetic. He said that he felt terrible about it, that the whole thing was all his fault, and that he, of all people, should have known that they shouldn't do that because His ex-wife had cheated on him, and he understood the pain and turmoil it could cause. He said he hoped that one day I could forgive him, but understood if I never wanted to lay eyes on him again. He agreed to have no further contact with my wife. So here I am. It's easy to just knee-jerk respond by saying, "To hell with this, I deserve better. I'm out of here." But the truth of the matter is that I actually understand how bad our sex life was, how much I'm gone, and how lonely she felt. I feel the same way. Not that any of that excuses what she did. That was 100% her choice, and it's all on her. But I actually do love her, and I believe she really does love me. I just don't know what to do now. My entire world has collapsed. I mean, I can recall 100 things we did with Greg, and now all I can think about is how I can't believe that they were fucking each other right in front of me. I mean, I'd come home from work and we'd all be at a barbecue in the backyard or something, and they probably had done it on a couch a few hours before I got there. How do you ever get that level of deceit and betrayal out of your head? Damn it. I've seen some of their old text messages from early 2012, allegedly after the sex stopped, and they are truly stunning. I was able to restore them from an old backup, and I only have about a month's worth, but they were texting 30 to 50 times a day. This was after Greg went back to work. In fairness to my wife's version of events, she does brush off his overture to come over at night when I'm out of town, but otherwise the exchanges are totally inappropriate for a married woman who says she's working on our marriage. Texting little hearts back and forth, asking if he can sneak across the street tonight, and her saying she's too tired, but just knowing that he wants to bang her makes her heart smile. I mean, it's tough to read. It's clear to me that he was madly in love with her. She was certainly enjoying the attention and wasn't telling him to stop. She says she's never loved him and acknowledged that she strung him along too long because she didn't want to cause problems. But my real belief is that she was still into him. She'd stopped having sex with him, but not the emotional attachment. And of course, she did sleep with him again in late 2012 and again this past spring, which tells me loud and clear that she really wasn't over him. When I asked her about those incidents, she said she hated herself when she slept with him last December because it had been more than a year since they'd been together. The incident in March of this year, she explained, was born out of depression. Her grandmother had just died and she had had a fight right before I went on a business trip, and she said that she just needed nothing more than to feel some comfort because she was so sad. So she used Greg to comfort her. She said it makes her feel terrible now. I know everyone is going to tell me I'm insane for even thinking of trying to work this out with her and stay in this relationship. Frankly, I don't know what the hell is wrong with me, but that's what I want to try to do. I'm only 3 weeks in. She told me on Friday the 13th. So I know nothing I'm thinking is probably rational. I actually don't believe my wife is a serial cheater or someone who would do this again. It took a lot of courage for her to tell me because frankly, I never would have guessed. Crazy, but true. But then I was so blind and naive about this that I know nothing. I believe, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about now. I get so angry at all the years of therapy and work I've put in, and then just to be denied by her sexually, and then for some guy across the street to have easy access to her, it just makes me angry. I feel about 1 million things or emotions going through my body right now, all at once, and I don't know what to do at all.